And ladies and gentlemen, there was a pause on the revision of fuel prices from November 4th. The relief lasted till 22nd of March. You and I could have benefited a little longer if Russia wouldn't have pounded Ukraine. After that, there have been 14 hikes, making the petrol and diesel dearer by almost rupees 10. And the hike is burning the pockets of every single person in the country using any vehicle that needs fuel. Today, Prime Minister Modi, in his first reaction on the fuel shocker, slammed the opposition states, namely Maharashtra, Kerala, West Bengal, Telangana, Jharkhand and Tamil Nadu, left, right and centre for putting revenue over relief when other states followed the centre's playbook and reduced VAT on fuel. He said that it's nothing but injustice to the people of India. Listen in to what Prime Minister Modi said in his meeting with chief ministers earlier today.
आप सभी इस बात से परिचित है कि जो युद्ध की परिस्थिति पैदा हुई है और जिस प्रकार से सप्लाई चेन प्रभावित हुई है, और ऐसे माहौल में दिनों दिन चुनौतियां बढ़ती जा रही हैं। देशवासियों पर पेट्रोल डीजल की बढ़ती कीमत का बोझ कम करने के लिए केंद्र सरकार ने एक्साइज ड्यूटी में कमी की थी। पिछले नवंबर महीने में कम की थी। केंद्र सरकार ने राज्यों से भी आग्रह किया था कि वो अपने यहां टैक्स कम करें और ये बेनिफिट नागरिकों को ट्रांसफर करें। अब कई राज्य जैसे महाराष्ट्र, पश्चिम बंगाल, तेलंगाना, आंध्र प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, केरला, झारखंड, किसी न किसी कारण से उन्होंने इस बात को नहीं माना और उनके राज्य को, नागरिकों को बोझ कंटिन्यू रहा। मैं इस बात में नहीं जाऊंगा कि इस दौरान इन राज्यों ने कितना रेवेन्यू कमाया, लेकिन अब आपसे मेरी प्रार्थना है कि देश हित में आप पिछले नवंबर में जो करना था, 6 महीने डिले हो चुका है, अब भी आप अपने राज्य के नागरिकों को वैट कम करके इसका बेनिफिट पहुंचाइए।
Well, you heard the Prime Minister. Now let me give you an account of how much the tax is being levied on 1 litre of fuel. Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Rajasthan and West Bengal charge over rupees 25, while BJP ruled states like Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Himachal and Assam charge less than 18%. But the opposition countered the Prime Minister, saying that it's the centre that is choking funds to states. They say clear the pending dues which the centre owes to states so that they can pass on these benefits to the people of India. Let's listen in to what the opposition said.
एक्साइज की बात करते हैं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी शासित राज्यों ने महीनों पहले ही अपने अपने राज्यों में टैक्सेस में कटौती की थी और आम नागरिक को उसका लाभ पहुंचाया। कर्नाटक को 5,000 करोड़, गुजरात को 4,000 करोड़, बाकी राज्यों को भी हजारों करोड़ रुपए की क्षति उससे हुई। टैक्स की कलेक्शन कम हुई, लेकिन भाजपा शासित राज्यों में आम नागरिकों को उसका लाभ मिल पाया। लेकिन विपक्षी दल केवल केंद्र की ओर देखते हैं, जबकि अपने यहाँ पर टैक्सेस में कटौती नहीं करते।
Right now, Government of India is taxing 25% more compared to West Bengal government on petrol. The total revenue collected by Modi government on petrol and diesel since it came to office, it is about 17,31,242 crores. क्यों किया? क्यों किया? और आप स्टेट को बोलते हैं
देखिए, ये बात तो साफ है, सबको दिखता है। बीजेपी शासित राज्यों में पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ का जो दाम है, कीमत है, और दूसरा विरोधी शासित राज्यों का, दोनों में 15-20 रुपए का अंतर है। क्यों है? लेकिन जो विरोधी राज्य है, जो प्रदर्शन करते हैं, इसको इशू बनाते हैं, वो कंजम्पशन उसमें कोई किसी प्रकार की कम नहीं करते हैं। करना चाहिए ना। अगर आपको लगता है कि लोगों की तकलीफ है, लोगों को समस्या हो रही है, पहले आप कम करिए टैक्स। वो नहीं करेंगे, केवल राजनीति करेंगे।
Fact of the matter is that over the last 8 years, the government of India has earned 26 lakh crores from central excise on petrol and diesel. Why don't you pass that relief on to the consumer? Is our first question. Number two, you do not give the due share of GST to the shares, which is your constitutional obligation. First, respond to that.
But is India really selling petrol at a higher cost compared to countries that are more dependent on petrol imports? Oil prices in India are possibly the lowest after Turkey. The fuel prices in India are lower than those of other countries which do not produce their oil themselves. Prices are exorbitant in France, Singapore, Israel and Germany, amongst other countries. It's important to note that crude oil prices in India have been increased by 33% from January 2022 to April 2022. But politics rages on. So that brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. Who's blocking relief to the Aam Aadmi, to the Janta, to the public? That's the question and that's the debate. PM Fuel Fact Check. That's the hashtag and the debate coming up on the other side.
You're watching the News Hour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
And joining me tonight, Shezad Poonawala, national spokesperson of the BJP, Sanjay Jha, suspended Congress leader, Dr. Fuad Halim, spokesperson of the CPIM, Karthik Reddy, spokesperson of the Telangana Rashtriya Samiti. But my first question goes to Riju Datta, national spokesperson of the TMC. Mr. Riju Datta, it is true. It is true that some of the taxes that are levied by states are way more than the slash in the excise duty done by the government at the center. And compare the prices between India and non-producing states, non-petrol producing states or countries across the world, and you'll find that everywhere prices have hardened. It's a fact. So why are you waiting and taxing the Aam Aadmi? If you feel so bad for the public, then why don't you reduce a few taxes like the value-added tax in your own state?
Thank you, Navika ji, for coming to me. I'll give you some pointed statistics, and I've got some pointed questions towards my BJP counterpart. The centre earned 26 lakh crores since 2014 in revenue from petrol and diesel prices. Very good. But I'm saying this on record. Out of that 26 lakh crore, 18 to 19 lakh crore is cess, which does not go to the states. Number one. Number two, if, like the Prime Minister says, that we want one nation, one falana, one dimkana, whatever, then we need a one uniform tax, and I'm sure everybody across the panel will agree to that. In GST Council, BJP has the brute majority, or more than 2/3 majority. They pass the farm laws with brute majority. Why are they not passing this law? Second point. Third point, the excise have gone up from 9 rupees 20 paisa to 32 rupees 90 paisa on petrol. And lastly, I am going to give you an announcement. The center owes the state of West Bengal in GST and tax devolution 97,000 plus crores. If they give us that money, for the next 5 years, we will not charge 1 rupee tax on petrol or diesel to the people of West Bengal. Now, instead of doing vindictive politics towards non-BJP states, I am sure the BJP has a reply for the people of this country.
Well, respond Shezad Poonawala, but before you respond to Riju Datta, I want to tell our viewers tonight we'll be taking your calls. The numbers flashing on the bottom of your screen, you can call us, and we'll have all our participants, all our panelists to respond to the questions that public wants to ask. Yes,
I have
Shezad.
heard without interruption Riju Datta, and because this is a topic about facts and figures, I hope there will be no interruption by Riju Datta. By the way, the devolution of funds that are done under GST and otherwise, those are done by the GST Council takes a decision, and the GST Council has come up with a decision as to how the funds have to be allocated. So first of all, it is not the responsibility just of the centre, it's the entire GST Council. And let me tell you, 8,82,904 crores. This exceeds the budgetary estimates by 2 lakh crores. This much amount has been devolved for the year 2021-22. In fact, 2 additional installments of 95,000 crores have been done. Those states which are saying that we have the maximum compensation left are not telling you that those states have also got the maximum devolution under the formula not decided by the centre but decided by the GST Council. Now wait, Mr. Riju Datta, you have stated many facts. Let me also state a few facts to you. Second fact, he said about 26 lakh crore rupees being earned on petrol and diesel. Now you must remember that the UPA in the 10 years they spent 49.9 lakh crores for developmental expenditure, which included subsidies for food, fertilizer, capital expenditure. In the 8 years of Narendra Modi government, despite the fact that there were so many COVID challenges, we have spent in 8 years 91 lakh crores. This includes 26 lakh crores just on capital infrastructure, which by the way is being built in the states. This includes the 2 years of free ration that we have given, the food subsidy, the fertilizer subsidy. All of this has been given to the states. In fact, we are running a larger social welfare scheme and program and net, because of which many of the expenditure that the states had to undertake, they don't have to undertake. In fact, now we are devolving 40% more to the states under the Finance Commission plan. But let me ask another question. If Maharashtra has the room or the fiscal space or the financial space to cut tax on imported liquor, why couldn't it not do the same thing on VAT? Please tell me that. Now, not only did it not cut VAT, states like Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra, they did not just cut VAT. In fact, between 2017 to 2021, all of these states increased their tax component by at least 10 rupees. And therefore, if you see the figure today, and I'm giving you these figures, per litre of petrol, West Bengal earns 26 rupees, Kerala earns 27 rupees, Rajasthan earns 29 rupees, Andhra Pradesh earns 31 rupees, Maharashtra earns 32 rupees. How much does Uttarakhand earn? 14 rupees. How much does Uttar Pradesh earn? 16 rupees. Wait, complete कर लीजिए. Interrupt मत कीजिए. Let me complete. Now he's saying there should be a uniform tax rate for petrol. Sir, are you as the government of West Bengal proposing that petrol should be brought, diesel should be brought into the GST net? If that is your proposal, please ask your finance minister to make this in the next GST council meeting. Don't come here on TV debates where you can be held out without accountability. Your finance minister should write.
All right.
Last point. Last point.
There are many questions coming your way for Shezad.
All of them are towards me.
So then you'll get another chance to answer.
Let me just complete one last point. Today, 1 litre of petrol, 1 second, don't get so angsty, sir. 1 litre of petrol in Mumbai costs 120 rupees per litre. In Uttar Pradesh, Noida, it costs 105. Why is that gap between 15 rupees? This is because the centre, despite the fact that we cut excise duty, despite the fact that we've cut customs and excise on soybean oil, on crude oil, on other products like sunflower oil, we cut it on masoor, etc., etc. We've taken a hit of 20,000 crores. Despite the fact that we are extending our social welfare scheme, the states have not done one thing that was expected
All right. Riju Datta, I know you want to come back with the rebut.
10 seconds. Okay, just three things. I heard Shezad ki baat. Now I'll give you figures. Indore 118 rupees 0.18 paisa. You have given so much discount. BJP states are the best. We are the worst. Indore 118 rupees, Patna 116 rupees, Bangalore 111 rupees, Calcutta 115 rupees. तो आप तो सख्त है, हम तो अपराधी है. छोड़ दीजिए. Second, in GST Council, you have 2/3 majority, and I'm saying this on record. The states that vehemently opposed bringing fuel prices under GST are BJP ruled states, not non-BJP ruled states. Second point, and the last point I want to ask you: when the crude price was high in the international market, you did not increase it because UP में चुनाव हो रहा था, और जब घट गया तब घटाया क्यों नहीं? क्योंकि चुनाव जीत गए. कब तक आम आदमी को पागल बनाएंगे? कब तक?
Well, let me get in Sanjay Jha. And Sanjay Jha, I want to ask you, it's a fact that petrol prices are extremely high in Maharashtra. Traditionally, Maharashtra has had the highest taxes, and traditionally, even before these hikes, Maharashtra prices of petrol were always higher than the other metros. I want to ask you, While you are doing the tutu meme, you must settle your political scores. You must give the facts and figures to the people so that they should understand. In the meanwhile, if you really feel that the common man is feeling the pinch, reduce the VAT, na? And then carry on your side battle with the center, which can go on till the cows come home. But in the meanwhile, don't tax the poor people who are using petrol, diesel to go to work or to send their children to school. Why are you doing that?
Navika, let me nail it right at the very beginning and expose the lies of the BJP. And unfortunately, the Prime Minister of India indulged in the same post-truth, alternative facts and fake news. Let me tell you, for the past 5 years, the BJP has been trying to tell the people of India that the petroleum products will come under the GST. If that had happened, none of this debate was actually necessary. Why have they not done it? I'll tell you why. Number two, the reason why governments which are lazy and incompetent levy taxes on petroleum products is because it is an easy way to increase revenue. You see, you and I will continue to use LPG cylinder, petrol, diesel, we will fly, we will have to take a car, take a train, and we will end up using petrol and diesel anyway. It is inelastic. So even if the price goes up, the consumption is not going to go down significantly. So the government just sits back and is mopping up revenue. The figure of 26 lakh crores, by the way, has gone to the center.
Are you talking about the government? Are you talking about the government in UP? Are you talking about the government in Maharashtra? Are you talking about the government in West Bengal? Are you talking about the Kerala government? Are you talking about the Telangana government? Which government are you talking about? All governments are lazy on this. Let's be clear.
No, 1 minute. Let's hear this out. I call it, Navika, as the great oil robbery done by Mr. Modi's government. Do you know why? Because petroleum taxes like GST are regressive. Because all of us, the poor, the middle class, the two-wheeler user, the car user, to the richest man in India pays the same price. This is actually creating inequality. It's taking away the disposable income of the middle class. And worse, it is also inflationary. I mean, the government actually doesn't have any clue of running this country's finances. If they did not have petroleum revenues, India's economy was bottom up, and we would have been literally a broke economy.
Please have no.
And I think the one last point.
No, but he will not answer. He will not answer the question on why can't he just make the central government, the BJP state governments, the villain, and why can't taxes be reduced in Rajasthan, in Maharashtra? But I have two callers. Public is the boss. Sanjay Jha. Sanjay Jha. I'm coming to you because the callers might have the same question. Sanjay from Hyderabad calling in. Mr. PM Krishnan also from Hyderabad calling in. Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Sanjay. Mr. Krishnan, good evening. What's your question?
This is Krishna here, Krishna PM. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I find that those who are criticizing the PM Modi's initiative and showing up the comparative data of the BJP ruled states and the non-BJP ruled states in terms of giving up their revenues to bring down the petroleum price to the end consumer. People are digressing and talking about the absolute earning of the central government on excise. This is not relevant to the topic under discussion. I think they are digressing and causing damage.
What's your question, sir? And to whom?
My question is particularly to Sanjay Jha, always trying to digress from the main topic and taking the discussion away from this.
That's a majboor hai, sir.
Sanjay Jha.
Statement or a question? Well, let me answer the gentleman because he's obviously, in my opinion, a sympathizer of the BJP.
Chalo.
How condescending is this?
Come on.
How condescending is this? I thought, no, 1 second. I thought you were suspended from
It's
Congress.
a random
Can I
call.
answer?
You know, now this is unfair. You know,
They'll start blaming. See,
you will blame journalists that they are bhaks. If there is a citizen who calls up, if a citizen calls up, you say, well, he comes from a certain.
Well, I'm a political animal, so I have to respond to it politically as well. Navika, let me finish.
But that is a citizen
That
of
doesn't
India.
mean that you beat up the question asker.
The reason why we have problem today is Mr. Modi's government has been opaque and not transparent to the people of India. I'll give you my example in 30 seconds, and I did not even come to the debate after that, and I hope the gentleman is listening to it. Mr. Modi's government had said our oil prices in the domestic market consumers will be linked to the international market. Fair enough. So today, if the international prices rise, the consumers would have been happy to pay more. But the truth is, when the international prices kept collapsing for 5 years, Mr. Modi's government kept increasing taxes and actually fleecing us all. And this is what I call is the dodgery that has been done. The duplicitous and dubious nature of Mr. Modi's government. No transparency.
Sanjay from
whatsoever.
Hyderabad also calling in. Good evening, Mr. Sanjay. Good evening, Mr. Sanjay. What's your question?
Good evening, Navika. How are you?
Very well, sir.
Just I wanted to tell you that in Hyderabad, the rates are very, very, very high.
Okay.
Hyderabad
And who do you think is responsible? Is this Mr. Modi or is it the Telangana government?
Our Karthik Reddy Garu is there, no? Mr. Karthik Reddy Garu.
Yes. Okay. The question is for Mr. Karthik Reddy. Mr. Karthik Reddy Garu, explain.
Hello, Navika,
why are
nice
you
to be
keeping
on
the
your
prices
show.
high?
Hello, Navika. Nice to be on your show. Well, firstly, let me finish what I prepared for this show, and after that, maybe I'll answer what Sanjay wanted to know. If you ever want to explain to an elementary grade what hypocrisy is in its true definitive form, you should show the Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister's 8 or 9 minute clip of what he spoke about the state's responsibility of reducing the fuel prices. I'm ashamed to tell you today, the responsibility of petroleum products in this country does not lie in the hands of the state bank. It is the job and the duty and the responsibility of the union government, central government, to import petroleum, because we are not a petroleum producing nation, to import the petroleum goods and levy taxes and take care of the distribution, whatever it is. So now your question, who should decrease the rates first? If it was a state government's duty of procuring the petroleum products, of distributing the petroleum products, then your question of why shouldn't the states be responsible in decreasing...
Fair point, you're not importing, but the government set the tone by reducing taxes in November. They requested state governments to do so, you haven't done. I'm asking Shezad to answer all questions, including what you've raised. But first, getting in Mr. Sundaram from Bengaluru and Mr. Arvind from Chennai. Good evening, Mr. Sundaram. What's your question?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Sundaram.
Oh, sorry, I'm Surendra, not Sundaram.
Surendran. Sorry. Mr. Surendran.
I'm basically from Andhra Pradesh, but currently living in Bangalore.
Okay.
My simple question, earlier when I was in Andhra 10 years before, Andhra used to have a less price than Bangalore. But now, the Andhra price or Telangana price is almost 10 rupees more than Karnataka. I don't understand whatever this TRS or any party telling these taxes are controlled by central. If they are controlling, how come they are charging more in Hyderabad or Telangana or in Andhra Pradesh?
Good question, Mr. Surendran. I'll get Karthik Reddy and Shezad to answer that. Mr. Arvind from Chennai, good evening. What's your question?
Yeah, good evening to all the wonderful panel members. My question is to Mr. Sanjay Jha. He says that all the governments are lazy enough. In a country which pays the income tax potential of the people who pay the amount of income tax is not that much. So the government will tax the people through petrol only, all the essential products only they can tax it. The question is whether that amount is being spent in a proper way or not. The central government has spent for all the good job that they have done. Even the state governments are spending. We have no problem when petrol is being taxed. In fact, the middle class can afford this. The lower class are not having a car. They are not going to use petrol. The higher class, upper class, it does not matter if it goes by 10 rupees or 15 rupees. It does not really matter. So he is having a very lame argument by saying that it is increased by this one. And
Very well said, Mr. Arvind. Shehzad, respond.
Because, before some panelists who prefer playing tennis in Mumbai's most elite clubs start running down our collars, let me just answer a few questions. First of all, one panelist spoke about how centre should bring fuel under GST. Is that, Navika, you're a graduate of economics from one of the postgraduate, one of the best schools in Maharashtra and in India. Is that the centre's domain that they can do it alone, or will it be done by the GST Council?
Point number two, please don't break my flow. I request you. I have 5 people to deal with. Two-thirds of the BJP members are not allowing it. Okay. Respond to that.
They should at least start off the process by their state governments writing a letter saying that we want to bring this. No, why don't they start the great gesture for the people? Then let the people of India decide that if they want BJP in power, they want these great worthies in power. Secondly, Mr. Sanjay Jha said that it is a regressive tax because petrol, obviously the poor have to pay and Mr. Ambani has to pay. It's the same thing, correct? But this does not apply when you cut tax on imported liquor. What kind of tax is that? Who drinks imported liquor? Does any poor person drink imported liquor? In your state, you have fiscal and financial space to cut tax on imported liquor, but you will not cut VAT on petrol. And then you will come here and tell me that it's a regressive tax. Why don't you cut some amount of tax from your kitty in the states? Thirdly, inflation currently, despite the COVID pandemic, has been in the range of 5.5% to 6.5%. Sometimes it has gone 1 or 2 times, it has gone above 6.5%, 7% range. I am asking you, in the last 10 years of Manmohan Singh, the Anand Shastri, average inflation rate was 9% and it even went up to 10% about 9 times, if I'm not mistaken. They come and lecture us about controlling price rise. Those who gave double-digit inflation, even then there was no COVID pandemic at that point of time, are coming and lecturing those who have kept inflation between 5.5% to 6.5%, even though America is seeing 7.9% inflation. Point number 4, Mr. Jha has the capacity to insult the voters. He thinks only Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi understand economics. But please tell me that when Mr. Sanjay Jha's government came to power, the rate of petrol was 35 to 36 rupees per litre. When he left government, it was about 75 to 76 rupees, which is an increase of almost 100%. Today, the petrol prices have increased because of global factors. You've shown that it's increased by 78% over the last 1 year, 33% in the last 3 months. The increase has been 53%. They left it, despite such high increase not taking place internationally, they gave a 100% increase. Today, it's a 53% increase. Today, the average inflation is between 5.5% to 6.5%. But those who gave inflation of 10% are coming and lecturing us. No wonder every caller is asking them as to what you did. And by the way,
absolutely. What is common amongst the people who called us, Dr. Fuad Halim, is that how come Karnataka and Hyderabad have differences in prices? Why is it that, okay, the centre is importing petroleum, very well said, that the states do not have control, but on the part of the states, why are different states charging different amounts in terms of petrol prices? And that just shows that it is not based only on the international price or the centre set price. There is add-ons that are being added by the state, and between states, neighboring states, there is such a differential. Respond to the questions of the common man today, sir.
Well, in Bhopal today, the price of petrol is 118 rupees 14 paise, and the price of petrol in Trivandrum today per litre is 117 rupees 19 paise. So if you're comparing BJP versus non-BJP states, I think so there is a whole spectrum of price ranges that you need to discuss, and definitely BJP states are not following the advice that the Prime Minister has given them. Now, we have an old what you call रिवाज here in India, कि लंगोट अगर बहुत छोटा हो जाए तो और जिसको छिपाना वो छिपा न पाए तो लंगोट खोल के चेहरा पर लगा दो, ताकि जो एम्बेरसमेंट हो, लज्जा से आप अपना चेहरा को हटा दे. That is what the Prime Minister has done today.
Not possibly the best simile that you could have given, Dr. Fuad Halim. It's a family show hosted by a woman anchor. You know, maybe your choice of similes could have been better. You know, Dr. Fuad Halim, allow me to at least say that. You're an erudite person, you're a doctor, and in COVID times, I don't want to say anything about a doctor, but this kind of a simile, I mean.
Apologetic? I am not apologetic.
Yeah,
now,
you're not. I know that.
Let's get back to the fact. The fact of the matter is, well, let's get back to the fact. The fact fact of the matter is the Prime Minister should have addressed the nation on what he is going to do on fuel prices. What is most unfortunate is that the government of India is not going to cut its taxes on fuels, and that is what clearly Modi has communicated to the nation. Now what he is trying to hide? He is trying to hide behind the fact and show the disparities between states and trying to put forward to the people of India that the BJP versus non-BJP states have a disparity for which the opposition is responsible. Now he is trying to hide something by trying to what you call cover up his own face and his own lacunas. It's by default, I think so. It's most unfortunate that the Prime Minister of India has today very categorically announced that he and his government is not going to reduce a single paisa on the fuel prices. And that is what is going to go across to the consumer. And that is what needs to be said.
Do you know?
BJP rolled states.
Do you know if the excise duty is cut further by the center to the pre-pandemic levels, then the loss of revenue will be about 92,000 crore. May I tell you?
Why are you so embarrassed to say that the Prime Minister has lied? Because the BJP states are
Why should I be embarrassed, sir?
As him.
Between you, who's governing Kerala, and the BJP, which is governing several states, and the Congress party, which is in 2 states. How am I supposed to be embarrassed on behalf of anyone?
So why was it?
I'm the common man, and I'm raising the questions of the people of India, and the people of India are asking the states a question. You can be offensive with me, be my guest. You can be offensive with me. सारा गुस्सा मेरे पर निकाल दीजिए, मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. लेकिन लोग आपसे सवाल पूछ रहे हैं.
I am also comparing 2 states. Do you feel Bhopal and Trivandrum? Do you believe Trivandrum need to be?
I have Nagesh with me. Nagesh on the. I'm coming. Nagesh from Hyderabad also with us. Karthik Garu, many people from Hyderabad have come to ask you questions. Yes, Mr. Nagesh, good evening. What's your question?
Good evening, Navika. I can just ask all of the panelists one simple question. It's a middle class. Why they are the only sufferer? High class, it doesn't affect. Lower class, they don't care. Middle class is always sufferer. Karthik Reddy Garu, I just wanted to ask you a simple question. On what basis you people are distributing freebies to the people? Why don't you reduce even 5 rupees? They are spending 10 lakh rupees right to Bandhu. Why don't they pay from their own pocket?
Okay.
And Mr. Sanjay Jha, if tomorrow your government will be there, would it be possible that you will reduce the prices to 50 rupees or 60 rupees? Yes, I don't think so. Because 2 years in COVID, we have suffered. Everybody knows if a machine is installed.
All right, Mr. Nagesh. Well asked. Gopal, Mr. Gopal from Bengaluru coming in. Karthik Reddy, I'll come to you first, then Sanjay Jha, and then Shezad Poonawala. Gopal, good evening, Mr. Gopal. What's your question? Mr. Gopal, can you hear me? Mr. Gopal? Well, we seem to have lost. We seem to have lost, but Karthik Reddy.
But just give me 10 seconds, because a comparison was made between Kerala and Madhya Pradesh, right? Let me just address this, because otherwise the entire night they'll make the same comparison. By the way, Kerala has a much smaller population than Madhya Pradesh, admittedly, of course. Kerala has a state debt of 3 lakh crores, whereas Madhya Pradesh, which is much bigger in size than Kerala, has a debt of 3.25 lakh crores. This is the same argument these people give कि श्रीलंका में कम प्राइस है. श्रीलंका में भी कम प्राइस है इंडिया से. By the way, पेट्रोल का प्राइस श्रीलंका में Indian rupees के terms में 60 rupees per liter. But today, what is the situation of Sri Lanka and what is the situation of India? This kind of weird, skewed logic can only be given by a leftist who for 34 years has ruined West Bengal.
No, 1 second. Why is it 118 in Bhopal and the same price?
The same reason why Kerala, despite being a small state, has a budget of 3 lakh crores, and the Madhya Pradesh, despite being a much bigger state than Kerala, has a deficit of 3.25 lakh crores. The Madhya Pradesh government on every parameter of development and infrastructure is now overtaking Kerala. Kerala can't even manage COVID. This is the situation of Kerala today.
Graduation, I didn't understand that point. So Karthik Reddy, questions were asked of you. Questions were asked of you. 1 minute, Dr. Fuad Halim. Karthik Reddy, questions were asked of you, 3-4 of them, many callers calling in from Hyderabad. So we are the most watched channel in Hyderabad. Maybe you can take that message to your party as well. But answer the questions raised by our viewers tonight.
Please just call me Karthik. When Mr. Nagesh asked me why is that we give out so many freebies, let me remind Mr. Nagesh that we are not the only state or the party which is doling out freebies for its people. There are all the other state governments which are doing it, including the central government of this nation. Shezad, your argument of saying Bhopal's budget is lower than compared to Kerala doesn't hold water.
I didn't say that. I said Madhya Pradesh's total state debt is equivalent to that of Kerala. Don't misquote me. I know what I said. I did not speak about budget. I spoke about state debt. Madhya Pradesh's state debt and Kerala's state debt, despite the difference in their population and size, is almost equivalent. And therefore, that shows that there's a mismanagement in Kerala's economy, which has been done by the left and the Congress. That's what I'm trying to address. That because they mismanage their economy so badly, just like Sri Lanka has, they don't have any fiscal space to give any cuts.
Mr. Karthik Reddy, if you have to do what every state is doing, then where is the difference between you?
Thank you.
And then you know, the center is also doing that. So sab wahi karenge. So why the centers reduced excise duty? Best thing for you to do is reduce, because they have reduced, because you do Navika, what everybody does.
You should ask this. This question is perfect for us, for Telangana especially. You should ask this question for a state which has increased its taxes, the state taxes, VAT, state excise duty, whatever you call it. If we have increased those taxes in the period of last 8 years since the inception of our state, your question means that it sounds logical for us. Telangana hasn't increased 1 rupee in its state taxes from the time of its inception.
That's not a fact. They have increased the petrol per litre tax from 18 rupees to 28.22 rupees. This is the fact. They have increased it, and I'll show it to you. I'll show it to you. It's been reported in the Hindu. The Hindu is obviously not a fake newspaper.
Navika,
I don't know.
Then you can go and check it on the. You can check it in the budget, and you can check it in the VAT that has been imposed by Telangana state. But let me know. This is not actually correct.
Riju Datta wants to come in. Sanjay Jha wants to come in.
In Telangana, the jump was from 18 rupees per litre to 28.22 rupees per litre in Telangana from 2017 to 2021. Please do not use Times Now as a platform for peddling your fake propaganda. Sir.
All right. I want to ask Riju Datta. Riju Datta, you said ask the center to reduce, return our money, reduce taxes, and then we will also do that. This is like the Diwar film dialogue. पहले उसके हाथ से मिटा दो, फिर मैं अपने हाथ से मिटाऊंगा. You know, this doesn't mean anything for the common man. What the common man wants to know is, the center has reduced excise duties. The center imports. There was a hue and cry before Diwali. They have reduced. There were some states which have reduced. Your state hasn't reduced. Today, I just want you to address the viewers, not the BJP. Address the viewers and the citizens of this country and just tell them, will you or will you not address the issue of high prices by lowering your part of the taxes, because only that much is under your control?
See, Navika ji, I'll first address, I'm not an economics graduate, but whatever I've understood, I've got some facts and figures. And Shezad obviously can correct me if I'm wrong. Retail inflation stands at 6.95%, reached RBI's comfort mark at 17-month high. LPG, you know where it is. Wholesale inflation at 14.55%, as bad as 1991 economic crisis. Paracetamol prices have gone up, and what about the 5 trillion economy? And one question, one viewer asked about freebies. My state, we also give a lot of things to the people of our state. I ask you, why should we not give freebies? When these industrialists come, like Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksis, and you waive off tens and thousands of their loans and scams, if we are giving back to the poor people,
let's say I agree with everything. You give freebies. Mr. Karthik Reddy can give freebies. You are free to give freebies. I'm just asking you the question the common man wants to know. will you or will you not reduce your part of the tax? Simple question.
Like I said, and I will again quote, out of 26 lakh crore, 19 lakh crore is cess. वो cess हमसे मत लीजिए, हमारा पैसा हमको दीजिए, हम तो 5 साल
ये तो आप
हमारा पैसा नहीं देंगे तो हम चलाएंगे कैसे?
You can write this letter, you can fight in a court, you can fight in a court of law if they entertain this. आप सिर्फ जनता को बता दीजिए आप अपना टैक्स कम करेंगे या नहीं. Yes or no? Is it possible? Is it possible for you to do it?
Until and unless the central clears our dues, we cannot.
Okay, you cannot. Karthik Reddy, can you? Can your state?
Because central is killing the.
All right. Can you reduce?
No, we cannot do it.
You cannot do it. Sanjay Jha, you are suspended, but I'm sure you have some friends in the Congress party and the government in Maharashtra. Can they afford to reduce something in the name of the poor people of India? Because heartless center is not doing anything. That's your allegation. Can the Maharashtra government, Rajasthan government do it?
Okay, I'll answer your question, but I've been anxiously waiting to actually put some data there that will tell you how the BJP has fooled India, and Mr. Modi has actually taken it to another extraordinary level. Here, look at the facts, huh? And this cannot be challenged by anybody looking into his phone right now.
Earlier facts could have been, but not this.
May 2014, when the price of barrel of oil was $105 to $110 a barrel. The price of petrol, 71. Currently, the average price of a barrel of oil is only 60. But how much are you paying? 115. Then for diesel, you paid 55. You know how much are you paying, ladies and gentlemen and the viewers? 100 rupees. For LPG, you paid 400 then. You're now paying 1,000. For a CNG, you paid 35 then, you're paying 80. So when the prices were high, the government of the UPA-led, Congress-led UPA was absorbing your actual cost and
now,
making
thank
sure
you for
that you
bringing
were
us
not
to this
bearing the
point.
brunt
No,
of
I'm
it.
very happy.
Mr. Modi's government,
I'm very happy, Sanjay. First of all, Sanjay, I guess you're not updated. Just like your status, your facts are not updated. Now stop interrupting, Sanjay.
All right, I'm running out of time.
Let me address this question.
I'm running out of time.
Let me address this question.
No time for such long statements.
First of all,
respond.
The price of a oil barrel has gone up from $60 to $112 in the last 3 months, which Sanjay will not tell you about. But forget that. That's not important. But thank you, Sanjay Jha, for telling us and telling the country that this is the legacy you left behind. The 1 lakh crore oil bonds that have to be paid off even by us even now. You left them at an interest rate of 8 to 9%. Now please do take the responsibility. And when did the prices of petrol start getting deregulated? 2010. But you left oil bonds worth 1.5 lakh crores at 8 and 8.5% interest, to which we have to continue to pay even today. And despite the fact that we spend much more on developmental expenditure, we have almost double the spending on developmental expendidige and subsidies and food and fertilizers. Despite that money being given to the states, you are unable to cut VAT. That's the problem.
The fact is that the Prime Minister has done a fact check. Now, prices of petrol and diesel are high, for sure. Nobody can deny that. There are international factors that are making these prices harder. But who is unwilling to pass on some relief to the citizens of India if they could? While the centre says it should be the states say that the centre has to release their money under various schemes, not collect everything through cess or give them their GST dues. The fact is, at the end of this entire debate, not one single state is willing to give that discount to the people of India to help them tide over this tough time. So any politician, any political party actually telling the people of India that they care for us, they feel bad for us, we should think again when they say that. When it comes to giving relief, they're all going to be tight-fisted and conditional. If they do something, then I will do this. If they do something, then I will do this. So, who's going to stand for India? Why is petroleum and petroleum products not part of the GST? Who is not agreeing for a central one tax regime for petroleum products? That is the question this country is asking, so that we can end the debate between the center and the states. Just who is it suiting more at this point in time? It's a question both sides need to answer. And if they want the politics on this to stop, then clearly, as we said before, a UCC, a United Crude Cess, and then all debate on this issue can end. Thank you very much to my panelists and for all the viewers who joined in to ask their questions on the Newshour debate number 1. Taking a short break. On the other side,